Greetings, fellow humans. I'm MartianBuu, and here I have a deck to play with Throne of Tides cards in every class. First up, we have a Naga Fell Demon Hunter. So the new cards in here, we have Herald of Chaos, Battlecry if you cast a Fell spell while holding this, gain Rush. It has Lifesteal. We also have Fossil Fanatic. After your hero attacks, draw a Fell spell. So the idea here is just to play an aggro deck with a bunch of Fell synergy. Ideally, turn 1, you play Dread Prison Glaives, and then you curve into either Fossil Fanatic or Battlesworn Vanguard. With all these Fell spells, you have Metamorphin, so you get your 1 mana 3/4 taunt. And then as the game goes on, you try to finish off your opponent with Lady Stheno and or Kurtrus Demon Render. Because of the lifesteal on Herald of Chaos, we're also running Eldrachi Warblades to go with our various attack pumps and Happy Ghoul. So we heal a little bit of life and then we get a free 3/3. Otherwise, it plays pretty similarly to the standard deck from a couple patches ago. Next up, we have Malygos Druid. So this is basically just good stuff Druid. We have our Twig Sphere, we have our Floops Gloop and Scale of Onyxia, a bunch of really cheap spells, and Kael'thas Sunstrider, which, while the third spell isn't free anymore, it does cost 1, so a discount to 1 on Ultimate Infestation or Miracle Growth is still significant. The idea is just to cheat out a bunch of mana and Malygos, and then to use the new Moonbeam spell to hit twice. So 1 Moonbeam and 1 Malygos is 12 damage because you're hitting 6 twice. If you have 2 Moonbeams and a Moonfire, that's 30 damage, so you can OTK with just that much. There's so much draw in here and tutoring that it's actually a lot easier than even I was expecting to get a kill off of it. So if you like Malygos Druid, this seems to be pretty decent. For Hunter, we have Questline Odd Hunter. So we got Shell Shot. It's like a different take on Power Shot, pretty much. You're using it to clear minions. The bar for damaging spells in Odd Hunter is a lot lower than in regular Hunter, so you can actually include cards like this and have it not be too bad. So that's a new card. We also got Ancient Krakenbane, which is ridiculous. So 3 mana 3/3, if you've cast 3 spells, deal 5 damage. That's a lot of damage on a body. But because there's a Naga that's actually really good, we can run Conch Shell. 3 mana, you get to go fetch that important minion and a spell to go with it. So this is just some new card synergy. I wouldn't expect too much out of this type of Questline Hunter, but pretty decent. Also, Dragonbane Shot just got nerfed. Like, Dragonbane Shot at 3 mana isn't great, but still good enough considering Odd Questline Hunter can do a lot with some pretty mediocre cards. For Mage, we have Reno Mage. This is a card pile, so crafter beware. But I actually did pretty well with it. The idea for this one is Neptulon costs 10. It's an elemental with Rush and Wind Fury, and Frostless Jaina costs 9. So you play Frostless Jaina on 9, get your elemental heals active, and then on turn 10 you play Neptulon. That was the theory. So there's no LPG, we have way too many spells, and we're not really trying to combo. We're just trying to use our good stuff cards to survive long enough to enter the late game and eventually kill our opponent with ignites every turn. Another new card is Lady Nazjar. So while in hand, this transforms after you cast a Fire, Frost, or Arcane spell. We have plenty of each of them in the deck. If you have a Fire spell, it deals 5 and 2 to adjacent minions. If you have a Frost spell, it gains 8 armor. Or if you have an Arcane spell, it reduces the cost of your other spells in hand. So depending on which one of those you play last, it has a different effect. This is a pretty fun card. We have the Jellyfish in here. This can be removal, or it can give you the additional spell damage you need to kill your opponent with Ignite. I know people will see Wildfire and Amplified Snow Flurry and Reckless Apprentice and think, where are all the other Ping Mage cards? This isn't Ping Mage. Those are just kind of generally good cards with this type of thing. Wildfire has synergy with Frostless Jaina. Amplified Snow Flurry is really good for helping you survive against Pirate Rogue. And Pirate Rogue is your main target with this deck. So that we just have a ton of Pirate Rogue hate cards in here. And if you hit one of them, you're much more likely to win just because your deck is full of tech against it. So this is a deck you want to play if you really want to use the new Mage cards or just like Reno Mage or whatever. I don't necessarily recommend putting out the dust to get this deck. For Priest, we have Silence Priest. I really struggled with the Priest cards because, like, they all seem kind of decent, but what do you even put them in. But we have Bubbler. Bubbler is the 1 mana 2/4 elemental, and if you deal exactly 1 damage to it, it pops. Bubbler and Helmet Hermit, you play them on 1, and they curve very nicely into Purify. It's a pretty modest combo by combo standards, but there's a lot of cute synergy in here. So you have the Whispers of the Deep. You can use either Hermit, Bubbler if you have to, but you can also use them 1 mana off curve with any of the bigger silenceable minions in here, and you get a pretty decent clear for 1 mana while also activating your threat. Illuminate is in here because we have Ashara and Ritual, and then we have our spell tutors to find whatever type of silence we need for the turn. We're getting big stat piles down, and then we're silencing them to clear the board and have threats. For Paladin, we have Libram Paladin. This is kind of the new hotness, I think, as far as what everyone's excited to play with. I've seen a lot of different builds. Mine is slightly greater than other people's, I think, as they tend to be. I have the Vorax in here because I like it. Don't craft it. I just like the Vorax. So the solid core of the deck is like High Priest the Call, Molten Giant, Light Ray. Those are your big beefy minions. You're discounting the Light Ray with Libram of Wisdom. So we're just running, as our entire Libram package, we're running Aldor Attendant and Libram of Wisdom. That's it. We're not running the 9-cost thing. We're not running the equality. It's just in here to be a cheap spell we can use over and over. The more we use it, the more our Light Ray gets discounted, the more our Devout Pupil gets discounted, and then we have cheap taunts that are also threats. Cariol is our late game. The Vorax and Katori Lightblade allow you to make more Librams, and the more Librams we have, the beefier our Darkbane finishes. So if we have a bunch of Librams in hand and we need to deal 12 damage to finish off the opponent, we just put them all on the Darkbane, opponent explodes. We're running Crystology and Attendant, Animated Broomstick, and Knight of Anointment as our only 1-cost minions to make it really consistent to hit Aldor Attendant and Knight of Anointment. The only reason brooms make the cut in the list for me is because we're also running small-time recruits. That's how important Aldor Attendant and Knight of Anointment is. If you want to cut the brooms and run every other piece of the package, I respect it. This is going to whiff a lot, but you're also going to hit the important minions every time. Vindicator is in here. Always gets you an important spell. You're getting small-time recruits, or you're getting Libram of Wisdom, or you're getting Crystology. It's all about consistency. Something that's not in here is Holy Mackie Roll, and I'm split on that. So what's good about Holy Mackie Roll is for 1 card, you're getting a bunch of ticks off of your Light Ray or your Devout Pupil. You can also heal up after you call, or if you're just in danger of dying. You can draw a ton of cards with Myrmidon with it. The problem is it's a holy spell, so if you're running 2 of those, half the time you're not hitting Libram of Wisdom off of Knight of Anointment, and that's the point of having the condensed package. Is this always hits the right thing. Cards I'd be looking at to cut if I wanted to add that are probably like Ziliax and the Vorax. You don't have to run Adis either. Like, this is just a card that I like with Librams as far as finishing off the opponent, but if you add the Holy Mackie Roll, this gets even better. So yeah, that's the major thing for me is, do I want to put Holy Mackie Roll in here? And the answer is probably yes, to be frank. It's got so much synergy with everything in the deck. You otherwise still have a lot of good consistency. Next up, we have Mechathun Rogue. So Mechathun Rogue is something that already exists, but this is a completely new take on it. So whatever you think you knew about Mechathun Rogue, throw it out. So the way the combo works is we're using the new Shatter Shamble minion. So Battlecry, your next Death Rattle minion, costs 1 less, but dies immediately when played. The question I get asked is, if you're using Passage to get rid of your hand so that the Mechathun can die, the Mechathun goes with it. And if you play it before that, it dies before your hand has gone away. That's not how we're winning this game. We're just, we're running a bunch of cheap stuff, and we're actually going to play it all out of our hand. I was able to win games with this. It's pretty fun. I'm not sure about the Myra slot. I don't think that's necessary. I also don't know what else I want to put in instead. Maybe a Kindling Elemental. But if you get Shatter Shamble and Mechathun early on, you can just rip this whenever you want because you don't need the rest of your deck anymore. As soon as you have this in hand or have played it ever and have the Mechathun in hand, nothing else in your deck is important, so you can just rip the Myras. You're playing all of your cheap cards alongside Field Contact and Efficient Octobot, making everything cheap, drawing through your deck really fast with Field Contact, and then once you've played out all of your cards, you just play Mechathun when your hand is empty, and it just dies. The thing that I've had trouble with this deck is trading off my minions on the board. Your board has to be empty too, and if your opponent isn't playing anything, then your minions are just sitting there. What's nice is your minions are then attacking your opponent in the face, so you can just win the old-fashioned way if your opponent's being super passive to play around it. But I don't think anyone's expecting this, so a bunch of my opponents were leaving minions up and not overtrading, not attempting to play around this because, you know, why would you? If you want to like try this new card, try a interesting new take on Mechathun Rogue, there you go. For Shaman, we have Big Shaman. This is my favorite deck of the day, I think, mostly because it's playing both of the new colossals. This is the one deck that runs Azumat, and I think it's actually not bad. You know, like I feel like the deck actually wants to play the card. Cheating this out early is really impactful, and the animation is really funny. When Azumat dies, the tentacles like slap the opponent minion to kill it. It's amusing. So yeah, we're running a bunch of new cards. We're running Command of Neptulon, so this is a way to have early presence without having to include a minion. We're running both colossals, so Neptulon, the Tidehunter, and Azumat, and then we're cheating him out with like Muckmorpher or Ancestor's Call or Eureka. For the sake of theme, I've put Colossus and the Moon in. So the idea, like someone in chat pointed out, if I cut the 8 mana card that has Wind Fury, Rush, and Lifesteal, then all my things are colossals. So like in addition to these being colossals, we have Colossus of the Moon and Scrapyard Colossus. So it's a very colossal deck. So don't craft this. I don't think it's even good. Compared to, what's that card called? Compared to Walking Fountain is much better. But yeah, I think Big Shaman is really decent, and it's the best way to play with both of the new colossals. So if you want to play the new colossals, play Big Shaman. Yeah, it's actually what the deck wants to do. I think both of those cards make the cut as far as whatever the optimal list of Big Shaman is. I don't know that this is the most optimal version of Big Shaman. I think I have it a little bit greedy. I don't know that you can have Ancestral Spirit and Reincarnate and, you know, everything else in the deck. You might want to have some more early game removal or some draw or something. I've seen some lists floating around that have like an overload, overdraft type of synergy. But yeah, this has been working for me. It's also a really fun deck, so if you want to play the new colossals, play Big Shaman. Next up, we have Hearthstone Warlock. Warlock is another one I struggled with the new cards, just because none of them really quite fit anything and also showcase how good the card is. I went with this one as far as my recommendation, just because it has the legendary in it. So Commander Urthok, your opponent's cards cost health instead of mana next turn. I don't know that I would craft this for Curse Lock, but if you want a place to use this, Curse Lock is one of your better options. Better of not great options. I think this card is really good. The idea is you're getting them low with the curses, and then you play this card, and they can't get rid of the curses without taking damage, and if they don't get rid of the curses, they take damage. So it's basically a finisher. So you're not just going to rip this on 5 when your opponent has 30 health left and give them a bunch of mana to cheat. You use it to, like, you put them in a bad position, and then you play this card to finish them off. Curse Lock in general kind of struggles in Wild, and I don't know that this makes the best list, to be honest. I just wanted to play the card. If you want to use a new card in a Wild deck and how to actually be good, you can check out my video on Tech W Warlock and just add Immolate in. So this is Immolate. Light every card in your opponent's hand on fire. In 3 turns, any still in hand are destroyed. This is a very situational card, but against the right opponent, like Shudderwalk Shaman or maybe Big Priest or something that requires Mechathun as a win condition, anything that has pieces it has to play at a specific time, and that time is later, this could be a decent tech option against. So if you go to that video and then sub out whatever card you either don't want to craft, if you played the deck before, maybe there's a card you don't like, wasn't useful for you, sub this card in there and just play Tech W Reno Lock, and it's pretty good. Finally, for Warrior, I have Even Warrior. This is a silly deck, but it ended up being better than I was expecting. All right, so the idea is we have our Igneous Lava Gorger. 4 mana, 3/5 taunt, Battlecry Dredge, gain armor equal to its cost. If all the stuff in our deck costs a lot, we gain a lot of armor. So this is a good excuse to use Tidal Revenant, which deals 5, gains 8 armor. Neptulon, so you would gain 10 armor putting that on the top. And otherwise, we're using just a bunch of things that gain you a bunch of armor, and eventually we Kazakusan our opponent. It has blacksmithing hammer, so your Forge of Souls draws you the blacksmithing hammer, and then you trade it off, so that's how you gain card advantage. Eventually you can play one and destroy it with Forge of Flames to draw more cards. Deadly Arsenal is 6 mana, deal 5 to the board, because your only weapon is the blacksmithing hammer, and even if you draw it, you can toss it back in to clear the board later. And then we either rush our opponent down with Galvangar, or eventually have enough dragons to play Kazakusan. This isn't a super competitive deck, but it's a fun deck to use a bunch of the new warrior cards. They actually felt a lot better in here than I was expecting. So there you have it. So that was a deck to play with the Throne of Tides mini set in every class. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Helps support the channel for free and lets you know when I've posted another video. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.